I hate this part where we have to stay silent for a bit. Because I feel like we do the dumb face, like...
Like the derp face.
Yeah, it's like you lose your brain, kind of. And, and then you start just looking dumb.
By the way, just a heads up, Gabby and I are experiencing technical difficulties. So if you notice that Gabby's reaction is like a bit late than what I'm saying or vice versa, it's because we can't hear each other.
Welcome to Creepy Conversations.
Yo.
I'm Gabby.
And I'm Kalai. If you don't know that by now...
We don't even have like...
We don't.
We don't know.
So, yeah.
Gosh. As usual, I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I told her, like, right before we started recording. As usual.
Yeah. She asked me to read, but I didn't because I don't know why.
Yeah, also, like,
sorry.
Disclaimer. Like, I was researching a little bit about this subject, our topic, and, like, the only, like, really, really detailed source that I know isn't biased is Wikipedia. So yeah, my only source is Wikipedia. Because there's like this other source that was written by an author in The Wire, but he based his story off of the serial killer's own story, and I don't trust this serial killer because he's such a fucking liar.
That's gonna be so one-sided.
Yeah, the serial killer literally called him and was like, I'm gonna give you my journals and I want you to publish them. So yeah, I haven't read the book that he published, so I don't know if it's biased or not, but whatever. So, our topic for today, we're gonna be covering the bikini killer, or the splitting killer, or the serpent.
It's really just one person.
It's really just one person, and his name is Charles Sobhraj. So, Charles Sabraj is French with Vietnamese and Indian origin. He was a thief, a fraudster, and a serial killer who preyed on Western tourists or hipsters, but at that time they were like kind of called beatniks. And he killed them.
What?
Beatniks. They're like the hippies who love to read, that are like literary nerds but also love to travel and drink. So yeah.
Why does it sound like us?
If you've read anything, slightly yes, but they have like the certain style. If you know like the writers Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg and all that's them. They're like the beatnik writers, and they like kind of started that whole beatnik phase. Anyway, back to Charles Sobhraj. He killed people throughout the Hippie Trail of Southeast Asia during 1970s, but like his crimes lasted throughout like I think to late 90s. Anyway,
wow, that's a long time.
By the way, for those that don't know, the Hippie Trail is like a form of alternative tourism, which was like the goal was to travel as cheaply as possible and to mainly extend the length of time away from home. It was like kind of a land journey taken by members of like the hippie and beatnik culture and like other people who are like kind of classified as hipsters basically. And it was between like Europe and Southeast Asia or South Asia, like Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and Nepal. Am I saying it right? Nepal.
Yeah, Is there another way to say it? It's like
That's it.
Nepal.
It's like those you see in the movies where those hippies ride like a colorful tie-dye Volkswagen van.
Oh, I want to own one so bad.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I just want to live off a car. I don't even drive, but whatever.
Just own the car and be like, well, I got it.
Yeah, I live here. It's still stationary, but I live here.
I park outside my parents' house, but I live here. Anyway, back to Charles Sobhraj. So he was known as the Bikini Killer due to the attire of his victims, and then he was known as the Splitting Killer or the Serpent due to his skill at deception and evasion. So Sabraj allegedly committed at least a dozen murders and was convicted and jailed in India from 1976 to 1997. After his release, he retired as a celebrity in Paris, our second murderer to become a celebrity after murdering people.
Yes. Actually, I read a bit of that, and then it reminded me of Issei Sagawa, and I'm like, how even?
Yeah. If you guys don't know, we covered Issei Sagawa in, like, our previous episode. He also kind of became a celebrity, so y'all check that episode out. So, Sabraj later returned to Nepal. Am I saying it right? Nepal. Jesus.
Yes. I feel like there's no other way to say it. It's just Nepal.
That word, that country, because in our previous episode I said it wrong, and now I'm like conscious of saying it correctly. But yeah, he returned to Nepal in 2003, where he was arrested, tried, and received a life sentence, and I think he's still there to this day. Charles Sobhraj was born as Hachand Boanani Gurumukh Charles Sobhraj, so he has a lot of names. Born to a Vietnamese mother and an Indian father who was a businessman, and they were based in Saigon. His parents divorced, and his dad left them, and then he got adopted by his mother's first boyfriend, who was like a French army lieutenant who was based in like French Indochina. Am I saying that right? I'm not sure. Whatever.
Yeah. Is that why his name is like French now, but he's really not?
His name was still French. Like, he had like, his full name is like Hachand Boanani Gurumukh Charles Sabraj. So like the Charles is the last name of his 4 long names. I love that his parents were like, let's give him hard names, and then let's give him Charles.
Let's be extra about this.
So that the stupid ones can still understand. So
it's like, in case you can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, let's give him Charles. Could you imagine, like, usually when kids, I'm not sure if it's the same in like other countries, but in the Philippines, kids usually have like, what the teachers do, they like, oh, whoever writes their name, who finishes their name first will have a prize. He's probably like, not even gonna try.
It's like, fuck this. I hate that because I also have a long name, man.
Yeah. I never win at that too. Anyway, so as a teenager, he began to commit petty crimes and received his first jail sentence for burglary in 1963. And then he served time at Poissy prison near Paris. They probably pronounce it as Poisson because it's French. But I'm gonna pronounce it as Poissy.
Let's dumb it down a bit and be Poissy.
Yeah. So, which is like common for like serial killers. They usually do like petty crimes when they're younger.
Yep.
And then while imprisoned, Sabraj manipulated prison officials, which is like what he's known for. He's really good at manipulating people. So yeah, he manipulated the prison officials. He was like practicing his skills of manipulation. And then he was granted special favors because he got like chummy with the prison officials. And then he was allowed he got allowed to keep books in his cells, which I was like, you don't allow books in prison? I didn't know that.
I don't think so. Because like I shouldn't even
have
be
you
saying
been in
this
jail?
No, not me, but I know someone and his wife whenever she visits, she gifts him books as entertainment for being in jail. So
whoa, yikes! So you
actually know these people, but I can't say.
Who is it? No, I'm just kidding. In the middle of our podcast, gossiping.
Yeah, I'll say it off.
In the middle of the podcast.
I'll tell you about it off the record, not here.
Anyway, so he was described as devilishly handsome, which I've seen his pictures and I'm like,
wait, I think you mean devilish.
Devilishly handsome. And he was just like, devilish. He's not my type.
Like I sense the handsome.
Yeah, I probably, because he was like not white, so I think that's why people were like, oh, he's handsome, because he doesn't look like, he looks ethnically ambiguous, like you can't tell what his race is, ethnicity is. Yeah.
Wait, I'm looking at photos and all the photos are like old.
He's like older, yeah.
Yeah, so I can't really tell.
Yeah. He looks like how the beatnik authors looked like when they were younger.
True.
So I think that's why, like, the hippies were like, I want to be his friend. But anyway, so he used his devilishly handsomeness to, like, he used his attractiveness to, like, to his advantage for his criminal career. So after being paroled, Sabraj moved in with, like, a prison volunteer. And then through his time between like, after being paroled, he moved between high society of Paris and then the criminal underworld. Because he was like being high society wasn't enough for him. He was like, I want to live on the edge of life, like that. Which is like, I feel like a lot of people from high society are also criminals.
I think they crave that.
Right? Like, I feel like they're secretly dabbling in crime.
Yeah. Yeah, like low-key. Because, I mean, it's hard to think they're not. I don't know, I just can't believe that they're all clean.
Right? If you're rich, you're dirty.
Sorry, we're stereotyping.
But we're not sure because we're not rich. So we wouldn't know.
Loki hating on them.
Unless we get rich, then we would know. Unless if you're like a celebrity, I feel like, yeah. Unless if you're a celebrity.
I mean, if we have like, wow, I'm really pushing this, right? Let's pretend we actually do have listeners that are like in high society. Let us know, you guys, if it's the truth.
Let us know and like donate to our Patreon, patreon.com/creepy combos. And right, so he began accumulating riches through a series of burglaries and scams. During this time, Sobhraj met and began a passionate relationship with Chantal. Woo! I'm pretty sure this is like French pronunciation.
Yeah.
Compagnon. Let's keep it at that. It's COMPAGN NON.
What?
What the fuck? COMPAGNON.
But it's probably it. Maybe it's companion.
Yeah. Like the French companion. I think so.
Yeah. Whatever.
So she was like a young Parisian woman from a conservative family. And Sobhraj proposed marriage to, let's just call her Chantal, but was arrested later the same day for attempting to evade police while driving a stolen vehicle. As you can see, he's like bold,
it's like YOLO
as fuck, right? YOLO.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you just said yes to him and then he gets arrested, like, how are we gonna get married now? What the fuck is this?
But I feel like there are also some people who are like, ooh, my husband is...
Yeah.
in prison.
No,
or
it
something.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. There's an appeal to it for
Some people. Which I don't get.
I might be one of them.
Me too.
Whoops.
Whoops. So he was sentenced to 8 months in prison after, getting caught by the police. But Chantal remained supportive throughout the entirety of his sentence, and they were wed upon his release. Because I feel like because she comes from a conservative family, she's like, I'm a rebel. I don't want to be boring. I don't want this life anymore. And she was like,
Yeah.
Went for the worse. And so
it's like, let's go to the extremes.
Right? So Sabraj, along with Chantal, who was pregnant at that time, they left for France in 1970 for Asia to escape arrest. After traveling throughout Eastern Europe with fake documents, this dude is cunning. He also robbed tourists whom he befriended along the way. Sobhraj arrived in Mumbai later the same year. There, Chantal gave birth to a baby girl, Usha, and in the meantime, Sobhraj resumed his criminal lifestyle, running a car theft and smuggling operation. And then Sobhraj's growing profits went toward he had a gambling addiction, so all his money went to that. And then in 1973, Sabraj was arrested and imprisoned after an unsuccessful armed robbery attempt from a jewelry store at Hotel Ashoka, which is like, why of all jewelry stores, why rob one that's inside a hotel? What the fuck is wrong with you?
I feel like, so when it's in a hotel, you feel like it's more expensive or luxurious, but
probably. But find one place where you can easily escape, right? If you're a smart criminal, you would go for one that you can get in and out right away. I don't know. I'm not a criminal. I don't know if the FBI is listening right now. I'm not sure.
But I feel like it's easy. Well, it was easier to rob places before.
Yeah, because there were no CCTV.
It wasn't as sophisticated.
Exactly.
So you can just get away and do some Bonnie and Clyde shit.
That was probably what he was thinking, right? We're literally we went against him, and then we were like, well, you know what?
So it's make up your mind. No, we're trying to figure this thing out, okay?
Yeah.
You guys.
We're trying to figure out his psyche so that we can. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, Sabraj was able to escape with Chantal's help due to faking illness, but then he was recaptured shortly thereafter. This dude literally is wilding as fuck.
He is the worst. I don't even think he's thinking. He's just I need to do this, so YOLO, fuck it. I'm just gonna wing everything.
Right? I wish we were that bold to be you know what? Let me rob a
To be honest, I
we're doing it again. We're bashing him, and we're you know what?
We have issues, you guys, okay? Deal with it. But I do want to be as spontaneous as that, at least not be afraid of a lot of things and actually do things that I want.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean illegal shit, okay? I just mean, if I want to do something, I'm gonna do that shit.
Exactly. Be cunning and fearless, but not a criminal. Take the criminal aspect away from it. Just that. Remove the chemical X.
Be bold on the right things. Yes.
Okay, so Sabraj borrowed money for bail from his father and soon fled to Kabul. Or am I saying that right? Whatever. There, the couple, him and Chantal, began to rob tourists on the Hippie Trail, only to be arrested again. They're literally not careful at all. They're just YOLO. Literally YOLO.
I feel like they're so used to the fact that they get caught and then they're released after that they don't really care anymore.
Yeah. It's like when you're used to failing. I don't give a shit anymore.
Why did this suddenly become about us?
Why do I relate? I'm just kidding.
It's like, oh yeah, I get it. It makes sense.
Totally makes sense. No. So yeah, again, Sabraj escaped the same way that he had in India. He faked illness and drugged the hospital guard, and then he fled to Iran. If you can see Gabby's face right now, every sentence Gabby's face is like, what the fuck?
So surprised. It's like drugged, made friends with, and then they're released. Ooh.
A lot.
This dude is everything.
Yeah, he's like, I've got a checklist. Let me do everything on this checklist.
Now I'm starting to feel afraid because I've got lots of activities listed down for like the rest of the year. And maybe like one day that's not gonna be just a hobby thing.
It's now like burglary.
It's gonna involve yeah. It's like unconsciously shifting to something else.
And the next thing you guys know, Gabby's gonna be recording inside, live from Singapore prison. No, I'm just kidding.
I've heard good reviews on the Singapore prison in Cantonment Road. I will show you that. It's on Google. You can Google it. They've got like 5 stars.
What the fuck?
And the reviews are like hotel reviews. They sound like, you know, those kinds. So
oh my god. Gabby is sus right now. Like, she literally, I'm not even, guys, she literally Googled.
I'm not considering this. I did not! No! I did not! Okay, disclaimer. I did not Google those reviews. It was just sent by my housemate. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, I should be wary of, because why the hell would he know about these things? Like, are you planning something to be searching shit about Singapore prison?
You're gonna be the Chantal to his Sabraj.
No. I'm gonna be my own thing. But also, I'm innocent. All right. Getting back.
Where were we? So, let's get back to like after the drugging the hospital guard. He fled to Iran and he left his family behind. Like, Chantal, although still loyal to Sabraj, she was wishing to like leave the criminal life behind her, and then she returned back to France and then vowed to never see him again. Then Sabraj was like, whatever. So he spent the next 2 years on the run, using as many as 10 stolen passports, and then, which I can understand how he can get through using like stolen passports, because I feel like his face at that time looked very, like, I feel like he would fit in so well. Like, he wouldn't stand out. Like, you wouldn't be suspicious of who he is, especially with his, like, him being manipulative.
Well, I don't know. Do you know what? I Googled Charles Sobhraj Young, and I'm seeing pictures of him, and he reminds me of my uncles on my dad's side, because the facial features are kind of similar. It's scary. It's freaky.
Uh-oh.
Whoops.
Is this a sign, Gav? No, I'm just kidding. Could you imagine, like, the government listening to us right now and then just taking notes? Gabby, possibly sus.
And then I'm gonna start receiving random text messages on my phone.
And then he passed through various countries in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Sabraj was joined by his younger half-brother, Andre, in Istanbul. And then Sabraj and Andre quickly became partners in crime. So the crime blood runs in their family. They participated in various criminal activities in both Turkey and Greece. The duo were eventually arrested in Athens after an identity switch hoax went awry. Sabraj, he managed to escape, but his brother was left behind. He was like, peace.
It's like, bye.
And he's like, we're family no more.
It was fun while it lasted.
Exactly.
See ya.
So Andre was turned over to the Turkish police by Greek authorities and served an 18-year sentence. After being on the run again, Sobhraj financed his lifestyle by posing as a gem salesman or a drug dealer to impress and befriend tourists who he then would steal from. He would like defraud them. And then in Thailand, Sabraj met Marie-Andre Leclerc she's from Levis, I think, Quebec, Canada. She was a tourist who was looking for an adventure. So Marie-Andre Leclerc was heavily manipulated by Sabraj, and she quickly became his most devoted follower. And she literally would like turn like a blind eye to his crimes and him cheating on her. So again, this is like the second woman that he was able to like manipulate really well. And then
sometimes I wonder, or like I ask myself, I may have not been that in love before because I just cannot see myself in this situation. Like, how can you be like, no, I'm fine with this, I'll just close one eye and pretend it's not happening?
Yeah,
like, come on.
I feel like she's like lying to herself. And she's like, well, he's always with me. Even though he's cheating, he still comes back to me. Which is like, no, girl. He's still cheating. He doesn't respect you enough.
Jeez.
Anyway, Sabraj gathered followers by gaining their loyalty. And then, like, a typical scam that he would do was to help his target out of, like, difficult situations. And then in one case, he helped 2 former French policemen recover missing passports that Sobhraj himself had actually stolen.
That's actually smart.
This dude is thick as fuck. Like, not thick, but like thick in the head or like face. Not the thick with a triple C. And in another scheme, Sabraj provided shelter to a Frenchman, Dominique Renelot, I think that's the pronunciation.
I think that's it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Who?
It sounds right.
It sounds right.
I'm not French or whatever.
Let me know if I'm murdering your last names.
The French has left the chat.
Yes, I'm so sorry, guys. But this one, he's like a total fucking asshole because Dominique appeared to be suffering from dysentery, and then Sabraj had actually poisoned Dominique. He was finally joined by a young Indian man, but I don't think Dominique died. Like, he just poisoned her to get, like, what he wanted. I think, like, to steal from her, whatever, because they didn't really state that she died. They just said that she was poisoned.
Right.
So, yeah. So, he met AJ Chowdhury, a fellow criminal who Sabraj, like, he turned AJ to his, like, second in command. And then Sabraj and Chowdhury committed their first known murders in 1975. So we don't even know if they, like, committed, or Sabraj, like, had murdered people secretly. The first known was with Chowdhury. So most of the victims most of the victims had spent some time with the duo before their deaths. And according to investigators, they were recruited by Sabraj and Chowdhury to join them in, like, doing crimes and shit. And Sabraj claimed that most of his murders were really accidental drug overdoses, but investigators state that the victims had threatened to expose Sabraj which is why he killed them. And another thing was that Sobhraj had like an intense hatred of hippies. There was a report that he said that, I think it was in his book, where he said that he like found them to be like useless because they were like traveling and like, you know, they were like living their lives, not really doing much to help society. So I think that's why he hated them. Or I don't know, maybe he's just crazy. And a lot of his murders like, kind of reflected his hatred for hippies. And
I was just saying that I don't like it when it gets to that point. Like, I understand that there are people who, like, you're just not vibing with them. Their thing is not your thing and you're not into it. But it shouldn't get to a point wherein I will fucking murder you because I don't like you.
Yeah. I agree, because, like, what right do you have? And also, like, people can change. Like, this dude could be, like, totally useless, and then one day he would be like, I want to help society and shit like that, you know? People go through a rut, so, like, you can't really, you know, say per se. Anyway, so it's stated that he's not like a lot of violent offenders, so he didn't seem to commit his murders out of like uncontrollable, deep-seated violent impulses, which many serial killers experience. His was more like was perceived as a byproduct of his audacious and venturesome lifestyle. Yet he was still widely believed to have antisocial personality disorder, or like also known as being a psychopath if you have antisocial personality disorder. And then this, as well as him being like very cunning and had a cultured personality, that became, he felt like he was, what do you call this, better than other people, which probably made him think that he had the right to murder them.
Wow.
So,
for someone who gets caught by the police a lot, that's very bold of him to think he's superior. Like, dude, you've been in jail tons of times.
Yeah, and I also feel like because he doesn't respect authority that way, he's like, well, you caught me, but I'm still gonna escape because y'all are stupid, which like really happened. He got to escape, but that doesn't mean that he's smarter than them. He just probably is very opportunistic and found ways to escape. Anyway, so because he's very like well spoken, he became a celebrity before his release from prison, and he actually enjoyed his fame and charging large sums of money for interviews for his like film rights and whatever. But before that, he did murder a lot of like hippies. So his first murder was a young woman from Seattle. Her name was Theresa Knowlton, and she was found drowned in a tidal pool in the Gulf of Thailand wearing a flowered bikini, which was why he was known as the Bikini Killer. It was only months later that Knowlton's autopsy plus the forensic evidence proved that her drowning was originally which was originally believed to be a swimming accident, was actually murder. The next one was, he was a Sephardic Jew called Vitaly Hakim. His burnt body was found on the road to Pattaya Resort, where Sabraj and his growing clan were staying. I feel like he also started a cult, but they don't really call it a cult.
Low-key.
Because they're like a bunch of criminals.
So it's a gang.
It sounds like a cult because he had a following. So
it's probably a gang.
Oh, yeah.
I think the only reason why it's not a cult is because they're not really into the religious, spiritual kind of thing.
Sorry, right? I knew that.
The stroke is still there.
Okay, so Dutch students Henk bin Tanya, who was 29 years old at that time, and his fiancée Cornelia Hemker, who's 25, were invited to Thailand after meeting Sobhraj in Hong Kong. They, like many others, were poisoned by Sobhraj, who then nurtured them back in-house in order to gain their obedience. As they recovered, Sabraj was visited by his previous victim, Hakim's French girlfriend, Charmaine Carew, who had to come to investigate her boyfriend's disappearance. Fearing exposure, Sabraj and Chowdhury quickly hustled the couple out, and their bodies were found strangled and burned on December 16, 1975. Soon after, Kauru was found drowned and wearing a similar styled swimsuit to that of Sabraj's earlier victim, Theresa Knowlton. Although the murders of both women weren't connected by investigations at that time, later, because of those two crimes, that was the reason why Sobhraj was called the Bikini Killer. So, on December 18, the day the bodies of Bintanya and Hemker were identified, Sabraj and Leclerc, the woman, Marie-Andrea Leclerc, who was like totally in love with, they entered Nepal using Bintanya and Hemker's passports. They entered Nepal. They met in Nepal, and then on December 21 to 22, they murdered Laurent Carrière, who was 26 years old and from Canada, but she was vacationing or like doing the Hippie Trail. And then Connie Bronzik, 29, from the U.S., and then the two victims were incorrectly identified in some sources as Laddie Dupar and Annabella Tremont, but they were actually Laurent and Connie.
Does he have issues with white people? Because I feel like all his victims are white.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably they're the ones that are more, like, friendlier. Because you notice, like, whenever we travel, the people who, like, talk to us first are, like, the white people. Because they're the ones that are really used to traveling all over the world.
And also socializing. I feel like in Asia, it's like, if you're not introduced to someone, you don't fucking talk to them.
Exactly. In Asia, there's, like, extreme stranger danger.
Yeah. We know what's up, that's why.
So, later on, Sabraj and Leclerc returned to Thailand using, again, the passports of Laurent and Connie Bronzik, that name. And then, upon entering Thailand, Sabraj discovered that his first three French companions had started to suspect him of serial murders, having found documents belonging to the murdered victims. Sabraj's former companions then fled to Paris after notifying local authorities. So they were like, even though they did crimes with him, they were like, murder? Nah.
That's next level.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not for me.
And then their next destination was either Varanasi or Calcutta, which they, it's not in, like, the reports that I've read, it's not, like, verified, so it's either Varanasi or Calcutta, where he murdered Israeli scholar Avani Jacob simply to get Jacob's passport. So that's how he kind of like started escalating from like stealing from these people. No, his first murder was because he was scared that he was gonna get like
they were gonna squeal on him.
Yeah, they were gonna squeal on him, and then it started to like because he wanted to steal from them, and then now it's just like because he wanted to get a passport. And then
I don't understand how that works. Like the picture, it doesn't even look like
I have no idea. Maybe he like killed people who kind of looked like him or like could look like him in the passport. I don't know, man.
Jeez.
And passports before weren't as like like legit as it
Yeah.
is right now, so maybe it was easier for him to like escape or whatever. And then Sabraj used Jacob's passport to travel with Leclerc and Chowdhury first to Singapore and then to India. And in March 1976, he returned to Bangkok despite knowing that the authorities in Bangkok were like trying to find him.
Looking for him.
Yeah,
Woo.
we're looking for him. And then his fellow criminals, like his ex-gang members, were interrogated by the Thai police in connection with the murders, but they were released because the authorities feared that the negative publicity accompanying a murder trial would harm the country's tourist industry. So they just let them go. And then, meanwhile,
I hate it when that
Dutch-
happens.
Yeah, like they would
Because
rather...
I'm pretty sure it still happens now.
Exactly. Like they would rather keep the tourism than give justice to one of their own. Well, not really one of their own, but like give justice to a person.
Give justice.
Meanwhile, Dutch diplomat Herman Nippenberg. You know, this story is such a struggle because there's so many names.
Why are there so many names? Yes.
This dude, why he gotta murder these people with like really hard names?
It's like, can we keep it to the abacada kind of
Yeah,
thing?
to the Smiths and like, no, I'm just, don't murder people. I'm just kidding. So yeah, Herman Nippenberg was investigating the murders of Bintanya and Hemker. Nippenberg had some knowledge of and had possibly even met Sobhraj, although the latter's true identity was still unknown to the diplomat, so he really didn't know Sobhraj, but he still continued to gather evidence. With the help of a neighbor of Sabraj, Nippenberg built a case against him. He was eventually given police permission to search Sabraj's apartment a full month after the suspect had left the country. Nippenberg found evidence including victims' documents and passports, as well as poisons and syringes. And then Sobhraj, Leclerc, and Chowdhury, their next stop was Malaysia, where Chowdhury was sent to steal gems. And then Chowdhury was observed delivering the gems to Sobhraj, because these people are not careful at all. And then
They don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And then this was the last time that Chowdhury was like ever seen, and neither Chowdhury or his remains were ever found. And it's believed that like until now they still don't know where he is. So he either like escaped, or what they believe though was that he got murdered. They believe that Sabraj murdered his former accomplice before leaving Malaysia to continue his criminal lifestyle, and then he was like tagging Leclerc along while he was like pretending to be a gem salesman in Geneva. A source...
But why would he kill him?
Maybe because he probably wasn't like not as... How do I say
like,
this?
no longer useful?
Or I feel like he wasn't okay with what they were doing anymore. Like, he probably was like, you know what? We've killed too many people.
It's like, I'm done with this.
I just want to live. And then, or probably he found out or suspected Chowdhury of, like, stealing some of the gems behind his back. Or we will never know because Chowdhury's gone.
True.
So, a source later claimed to have sighted Chowdhury in West Germany, but the claim appeared to be unsubstantiated. And the search for Chowdhury still continues to this day. So I think he either, like, disappeared secretly or was murdered. Those are the only two possibilities.
What do you think? I want to believe that he kind of just left and started a new life. Like, probably changed his identity and You know, that kind of shit.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I want to believe that he's still alive, but I also have I feel like Sabraj really was like,
Killed him.
you know what? Bam!
I'm done with you.
Anyway, soon back in Asia, Sabraj started to build a new criminal, quote-unquote, family, starting with 2 lost Western women, Barbara Smith. See, this is what I want.
There you
Smith
go.
and Mary Ellen
Barbara
Smith, the
It's
most
so easy.
common American name. Sorry to the Barbaras and the Smiths, but the Barbara Smiths. And Mary Ellen Either. Anyway.
Probably
Either. In Bombay. And then Sobhraj next victim was a Frenchman, Jean-Luc Solomon, he was poisoned during a robbery, and he was, simply intended to incapacitate him, but he left him dead. Which I don't think that's true, that he was simply, I just want to incapacitate you. He probably knew that he was going to kill him because he poisoned people before, so he probably knew the dose that would be enough to kill. Yeah. Who you fooling? And
it's we know this.
In July 1976 in New Delhi, Sabraj, joined by his 3 women criminal clan, tricked a tour group of French postgraduate students into accepting them as tour guides, which is a smart thing to do if you're a criminal, was to bring women, because immediately, I noticed when you see a woman, you're yep, this probably isn't.
You feel more at ease.
Yeah, because you want to think that women are smarter than men. Or have more, their conscience is
We're seen as less of a threat.
Yeah. Yeah, that
so
too.
We're more comfortable.
That too.
Psych!
Societal shit. Anyway, so Sabraj then drugged them by giving them poison pills, which he told them were anti-dysentery medicine. When the drugs took effect more quickly than Sabraj had anticipated, the students began to fall unconscious. 3 of the students realized what Sabraj had done because they were a group. They overpowered him and contacted the police, leading to his capture. During interrogation,
good on you.
Yep. Which is also he is that bold to victimize a group of people. A group of postgraduate students at that, so you know they're smart.
Smart, yeah.
During interrogation, Sabraj's accomplices, Smith and either quickly buckled and confessed. Sabraj was charged with murder of Solomon, and all 4 were sent to Tihar prison in New Delhi while awaiting for formal trial. And then, during prison, Smith and Ether attempted suicide in prison during the 2 years before the trial. And Sabraj had entered with precious gems concealed in his body and was experienced in bribing his captors and started to live in jail comfortably. Which is this guy is literally checking everything. He's you know what? I've done this before, and I know that prison guards...
It's I know how this works.
Yeah, prison guards are underpaid, so I'm just gonna trick them with the gems that I concealed in my butt. I'm not even sure if they're in his butt, but I would like to think so. Because where else would you conceal gems?
Where else? Yeah, exactly. This is probably the hotel kind of experience that the ratings we saw
in Singapore. But I feel I don't think there's a nice jail in Asia. Except in Singapore for sure, but anywhere else.
I have no idea.
Like, I feel like in New Delhi, I feel like their prison are like the prison in the Philippines. Like, zero human rights.
There's a certain standard for all these.
Yeah. We're not like
jail cells.
You know, this is just an assumption based on experience.
Yeah.
Based on like what we know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So don't trust us.
Yeah, exactly. Why do you trust us? No, I'm just kidding. So he turned his trial into a spectacle. So he's extra. He's probably a Leo. Wait, let me see. When was he born? Nah, he's an Aries.
Oh, still. Aries are like that.
Yeah, there's like, yeah. So he started hiring and firing lawyers at a whim. And then he would bring his recently paroled brother Andre to assist, and eventually going on a hunger strike. So he was like, I'm just gonna do whatever.
He's petty.
Yeah. And he was sentenced to 12 years in prison, and which is like, he murdered people. Why only 12? You know?
And a lot of them too.
Yeah. But I think he was only convicted with Solomon's murder because
right.
That was the only murder that Smith and other witnessed. So yeah, I think that was like, but still 12 years for murder.
Yeah.
That's not,
should be life sentence.
Right. And Leclerc was found guilty of drugging the French students, but was later paroled and returned to Canada when she developed ovarian cancer. She was still claiming her innocence and was reportedly still loyal to Sabraj when she died at her home in April 1984. So she was in deep with his like manipulation and shit. So Sabraj's systematic bribery of prison guards at Tihar reached outrageous levels. He led a life of luxury inside the jail with television and gourmet food, which
wow.
is like, how many gems did he conceal in his body for him to live a luxury life in jail?
Gourmet food.
Right?
Like, prison guards don't even eat that kind of shit.
Exactly. Like,
why do you give it to your prisoners? What?
I don't get it. How much were the gems? Why is it that much? Why do you need to? You could just accept the gems and like peace out. You know, just take them and not give him what he wants. Like, I don't get it.
Yes, they were supposed to be in control of this shit. Like, what?
Right?
Yeah.
No loyalty to the justice system at all. And Sabraj gave interviews to Western authors and journalists such as Oz Magazine's Richard Neville, who's like a famous writer and like social commentator at that time. And he also gave one to Alan Dawson, who's also obviously a writer, duh. He freely talked about his murders while never actually admitting to them, and pretended his actions were in retaliation against Western imperialism in Asia. Which is like,
what? That's not how you do it.
Exactly. Like, this dude, I get that you don't want Western imperialism, which is what we all don't want, but
yeah.
Why do you need to kill those people? I don't get it. Like, what did you accomplish anyway? Nothing.
It's also, it's not like they're the ones that is causing the Western imperialism. Like,
exactly.
I'm confused. Whatever.
He was just like, here's my reason. Accept it.
Deal with it. Yeah. It's like, just deal with it.
When Sabraj's sentence was to end, the 20-year Thai arrest warrant against him would have still been valid, thereby affecting his extradition and almost certain execution. So if he was, like, from Tihar sent to Thailand, he probably would be dead by now, because because of their like justice system there, and because he also
Yeah.
killed a lot of people in Thailand. So in March 1986, in his 10th year in prison, Sabraj threw a big party for the guards and fellow inmates. And guess what happened next?
They all died. Because they got poisoned.
Not really, but almost. He drugged them with sleeping pills and walked out of jail. How many shit was he?
He has a history of poisoning people. Like, people, come on.
Also,
The mañanita is not happening.
yes. And also, where the hell did he hide the poison? How deep
Where did
is
the
his
drugs
butt
come from?
that he was able to hide so many gems plus the poison?
Oh, jeez.
Please help me
Yeah,
understand.
but like where? How?
I have no idea how he did it. Or he probably have paid I don't know. I don't think it's possible that he paid a guard to like, hey dude, buy me like 100 sleeping pills. Like, you would be suspicious if he was to like,
Yes.
buy me even 50 or 20. You would be like, that's a lot, dude. Are you gonna commit suicide
And
or
you can-
something?
Yeah, you can OD on sleeping pills. Like, what the
Right?
wow. I am amazed at the level of stupidity and trust they had for him.
Yes.
And at the same time, I am amazed by how
Cunning.
he was able to pull this off. Yes.
Literally, this dude is a fucking Slytherin. Because he slithers in and out of jail.
In.
Jesus. So, Inspector Madhukar Zende of the Mumbai police apprehended Sobhraj in O Coquero restaurant in Goa. This dude traveled to so many places that I have not even heard before. And his prison term was prolonged by 10 years, just as he had hoped. And on February 17, 1997, the 52-year-old Sabraj was released with most warrants, evidence, and even witnesses against him. And then, without any country to extradite him, Indian authorities let him return to France. In France,
What?
Yep. Well, we're not done yet, but we're almost done, but still. So Sabraj retired to a comfortable life in suburban Paris. He hired a publicity agent, which is like, this dude is literally like, he just doesn't.
He's living the life.
Exactly. He's just like
Unfairly.
you're right. Which is also like, he was. I'm done with the crime life. So how about I turn to celebrity life? Let me hire a publicist, which is crazy. Like, he shouldn't have been
my
able
God.
to hire.
What if that was his plan all along? Like, I want to be a celebrity because my life is such a fucking trip. But for me to have that kind of story, I have to live it first. What if that was his plan?
I have no idea. This dude is just like doing whatever he wants, which is not fair.
Exactly.
So, after hiring the publicity agent, he charged large sums of money for interviews and even photographs. And he is said to have charged over, guess how many in US dollars?
For one,
No, like a total
in total, $100,000.
higher, Gab, higher.
What?
Yes.
Are you?
US dollars.
No,
higher than that.
I don't have a figure in my head, but that is huge. And judging by the fact that this happened in the 90s, that is a huge
lot,
amount
yep.
of money.
He
How much?
charged over 15 million in total. This was according to advocate and former police inspector Bishwalal Shrestha, who investigated the case. He also framed the charge sheet and registered the case in court. And then he also, the 15 million US dollars, part of that money was also rights to a movie based on his life.
What's the title of the movie?
It's not yet.
It better
released.
be lit.
Well, there are a lot, which I will get to. On September 17, 2003, Sabraj was seen in a street of Kathmandu by a journalist. The journalist quickly reported this to the Nepalese authorities, who arrested him 2 days later.
What is he doing there?
Yeah, he was just, according to him, that he was hired by the CIA and he needed to meet with like the Parisian gangster who were like operating there, and then he got caught. Literally, this dude was like, I'm part of the CIA. I was actually hired. I'm part of the CIA and I'm doing this on behalf of the CIA.
What?
But yeah.
What mental illness does he have? Because that is illusions of grandeur already.
I feel
you're
like
making shit up.
Yeah, and the
and
crazy
I feel like
thing
he
is,
actually kind of believes these things.
he does.
He's not scared.
And the crazy thing is, remember the book that I mentioned earlier called The Serpent? I didn't mention that book. But there's this book called The Serpent, which was based on the journals that he wrote, and then he called like the journalist was like, yo, write my book about me. Yeah. The journalist actually believes that he's part of the CIA. Which I'm like, that is so... Which is why I was like, I don't think I'm going to include this, because I don't know how he wrote his journals for this, like, writer to be like, yeah, I believe you.
Yeah, I believe. I really think he has a mental illness.
Yeah, me too.
Because you don't talk about your life that way when it's like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And believe me, I mean, like, I grew up with someone with mental illness. I know how it is.
Yeah, and I feel like he really believes that he was like, he probably during at that time when he committed the murders, he probably wasn't part of the CIA, but then after he was like, you know, it makes sense that I'm part of the CIA, and let me like go with that story. So yeah,
if I say it often enough, it's gonna be true.
I'm gonna manifest. So I'm gonna repeat this out loud. And it's going to come true. So, dude, we're not making fun of manifestors because we do that too.
We do that shit, but this isn't how it's
That's how
supposed
it
to be.
works.
Just saying.
So yeah, they arrested him. The Nepalese authorities arrested him 2 days later in the casino of the Yak and Yeti Hotel. Sabraj's motives for returning to Nepal at that time remain unknown, but was only found out that it was because he was part of the CIA later on.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, quote unquote. He was sentenced to life imprisonment by the Kathmandu District Court on August 20th, 2004 for the murders of Bronzik and Carriere in 1975. This just came into my head. I feel like he hid probably some jewels or money in Kathmandu, which was probably why he went back to Kathmandu for the jewels. For the jewels. I'm not sure.
It could be. But didn't he do all those shit in Thailand? He went to different places. I can't even keep track anymore.
Yeah. So maybe he probably hid some shit there.
Yeah. The only question I have in my head is, did he not need a visa for any of these places? Because all he stole was passports. Like...
Probably I don't know. When did visa started to exist? Guys, if you're listening, let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
We have no idea. I feel like that probably existed before, right?
It should. Anyway, we'll do our research after this because it's
later.
Like a lot of things are not making sense.
So
when we should have done this before, but like we'll do it later.
So, most of the photocopy evidence used against him in this case was from that gathered evidences by Nippenberg, the Dutch diplomat, and who eventually became part of the Interpol, because that's how hard work works. So, he appealed against the conviction, claiming that he was sentenced without trial, and his lawyer announced that Chantal, Sobraj's wife, in France was filing a case before the European Court of Human Rights, which like confuses me, because Chantal was like, I'm never gonna speak to him ever again, but also she's like, let me help him at the same time. So yeah, against the French government for refusing to provide him with any assistance, and Sobraj's conviction was confirmed by the Patan Court of Appeals in 2005. Okay, we're almost done. Last part. His current status: in late 2007, news media reported that Sobraj's lawyer had appealed to the French president at that time, Nicolas Sarkozy, for intervention with Nepal. In 2008, Sobhraj announced his engagement to a Nepali woman, Nihita Biswas, who later participated in the reality show Big Boss. Everyone here is a clout chaser, I swear to God. And on July 7, 2008, issuing a press release through his fiancée Nihita, he claimed that he was never convicted of murder by any court and asked the media not to refer to him as a serial killer. Dude, even though you weren't convicted, it doesn't mean that you didn't do it. The fuck? So it was claimed that Sabraj...
Branding.
Yeah, exactly. It was claimed that Sobraj married his fiancée on October 9, 2008, in jail on Bada Dashami, which is a Nepalese festival. And on the following day, the Nepalese jail authorities dismissed the claims of his marriage. They said that Nihita and her family had been allowed to conduct a tika ceremony along with the relatives of hundreds of other prisoners, but they further claimed that it was not a wedding, but part of the ongoing Dashain festival, when elders put the vermilion mark on the foreheads of those younger to them to signify their blessings. So he's a lot. He caused all this ruckus for nothing. In July 10, the Supreme Court of Nepal postponed the verdict on an appeal filed by Sabraj against a district court's verdict sentencing him to life imprisonment for the murder of American backpacker Connie Jo Bronzik in 1975. Sobhraj had appealed against the district court's verdict in 2006, calling it unfair and accusing the judges of racism while handling out his sentence.
My eyes are rolling so hard I can see my brain.
Yeah. There was probably a little bit of racism, but also, dude, you killed people. The fuck is wrong with you? That's why you were... That's not because of racism. It's because you were a murderer, crazy ass. And then on July 30, 2010, the Supreme Court upheld the verdict issued by the District Court of Kathmandu of a life sentence for the murder of Connie Jo Broznik, and another year plus a fine of, what's RS? Probably Nepalese money. For entering Nepal illegally. The seizure of all of Sobraj's properties were also ordered by the court. Sobraj's fiancée Nihita and her mother Shakuntala Thapa, a lawyer, expressed dissatisfaction with the verdict, with Thapa claiming that Sobhraj had been denied justice and the judiciary is corrupt. Sorry, what?
RS is rupee.
Oh.
I only know it as INR.
Jesus.
But then, Google told me it's the same. So.
Okay.
Rupee.
So, they were charged and sent to judiciary custody for contempt of court because of these remarks. And in September 18, 2014, Sabraj was convicted in Bhaktapur District Court of the murder of Canadian tourist Laurent Carrière. And in 2008, Sabraj was in critical condition and had been operated on multiple times and even received an open heart surgery and is scheduled for more. So he's still there to this day. I was wrong in the beginning. But yeah, he's still in Kathmandu to this day. There were multiple books about him. Like I mentioned, the Serpentine. Sorry, I said the Serpent at the beginning, but it's the Serpentine. Or was I wrong?
Close enough.
Yeah, the Serpentine. Yeah. And then many other books about him. And in 2009, Netflix and BBC announced the production of an 8-part series called The Serpent. See, this is where I got the Serpentine wrong. The Serpent, focusing on Sobhraj's capture and trial, and I think it's set to be released either later this year or early 2021 on Netflix. So y'all, once you see that movie, you're like, I heard that in Creepy Convos first. So,
yeah.
And that's the story of Charles Sobhraj.
I had a question in my head and then I forgot.
I'm sorry, I was like...
Oh, no. I remember now. Is he getting royalties from this? Because I want to watch it, but if he is, then I'm not going to watch it.
I don't think so. I'm not sure because he sold his movie rights already. So I don't think that he's going to like...
Oh, then he probably...
get...
Okay.
Yeah.
Then y'all watch it. We will all watch it.
Let's have a movie party. Wait, no. A series party.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo.
So...
I need to pee.
Yeah. Because Gabby needs to pee. We gotta wrap up. Y'all follow us on...
I'm so sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. Follow us on social media, Creepy Convos on Twitter and Facebook, and then Creepy Conversations on Instagram. And then also don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon. We got a lot of like really exclusive stuff there and get to know us more there and more like stories that are like Creepy Convos trademark stories. Not really trademark, but like our usual shit on Patreon.
Yeah. That's patreon.com/creepyconvos.
Yeah.
And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you listen to your podcasts too.
Yes. Get creative with your reviews because we're going to read it here.
Yes, definitely. And thanks for creeping, you fucking creeper.
And remember, the government is always watching you.
Bye.
Bye.